Hello everybody and welcome to this webinar that serves as an introduction to RiEGL's latest add-in for ArcGIS Pro RiMAP. My name is Sevcik and together with my colleague Gaussen we'll walk you through the essentials of RiMAP in the next 20 minutes, I would say. As you might know, we have built this first version of RiMAP to address some of the challenges we experienced when working with a number of data sets of various kinds. So if you feel, if you see anything in this presentation that make you feel RiMAP make it even better or more helpful to you, please get in contact with us. We will answer questions after the webinar. So please send the questions to the questions box, and at any time feel free to contact us via rymap@riegl.com. I'll put the email address on screen after the webinar. So I think it's time to get started. So to not further distract you from the content we're going to show, we'll now switch off the cameras and start with the presentation. I think as a service provider or owner-operator with a bunch of data connections piling up over time, I assume some of you experienced the one or the other challenges listed on this slide here. So the central question for us was, how do I keep track of these collections? Is there a way to get an overview and search for any collections? Or even how do I make this information available to others, maybe work colleagues, team, or clients? So I think this is where RiMAP comes into play. And the basic idea of RiMAP is to manage, visualize, and analyze and share RiPROCESS data collections. And it is designed to show an overview of the LiDAR collection, including a LiDAR footprint and digitized trajectory information. It will further extract some project metadata about the collection and processing status of a project. It will give access to this information via web applications which we hope you find easy to use. And it allows, of course, updating and synchronization of these apps with the local content to make sure the online content is up to date with the local stuff. So how does it actually work? RiMAP takes in an RPP file. From this, it builds a RiMAP geodatabase containing numerous data structures for managing and storing the RiMAP features in ArcGIS Pro. It creates a 3D scene and visually displays the features as layers on the map. The extracted metadata coming with the projects are available as features within the geodatabase tables. And this data can then be published to ArcGIS Online. And from this published data, we built web applications and dashboards to make this information available to others. So that's the theory. And to get a better impression how it really works, I would say we hand it over to Kelly for a quick demo of RiMAP. So Kelly, it's your turn.
Okay, so let me just share my screen. Okay, so full disclosure, this is a pre-recorded demo. Just because we're publishing to online and we're accessing the web and the webinar, just to make sure everything flows well. But I'm live, so I'm gonna talk you through what's going on. So RiMAP is quite easily installed. It's an ArcGIS add-in. It's available on the ribbon of your normal ArcGIS Pro as a tab on the normal ArcGIS Pro ribbon. We have two tools. There is an import tool and a data management tool. With two different ways of imports. You can do a single import or a batch import that imports multiple projects at one time. So it's important to note here that in this version, RiMAP only imports kinematic LiDAR projects, so RiPROCESS projects. So you begin by selecting a folder that contains your RiPROCESS projects, and Rymap will pass through this folder and look for all the RiPROCESS projects that are available. You can save these projects to a list just so that they're easily accessible if you want to come back to them later, or if there's any that you want to skip. So we save that to a file, and then that file, if you come back to this batch ingest, you can just go and select the file and start the wizard from there. So the next step is to go to the import. So here we have a look at what was imported into the list, and you can choose which projects you want to import, or you can just import all of the projects that you need. And the first step here is to validate this. So what we'll do is just go through and check that all the RiPROCESS projects are available and set up correctly, and all the data we need is available. And once that's done, we can start the import. So this import will import each project concurrently. The top progress bar shows which project is getting imported, and the bottom one shows the progress of each project. So we need access to the POF.X files in the RiPROCESS project to create the trajectories, and the RDB2 files. So as a side note, this is for RiPROCESS version 1.9 and above. And so it's always a good idea to maintain the best practice folder structure within your RiPROCESS project and ensure that the whole project is accessible and not just the RPP, but this is checked during the validate. So what's happening in this run is, this is the first run, so we create a RIMAP geodatabase to be stored within ArcGIS Pro. And inside that RIMAP geodatabase, we create two feature classes, one for the trajectories and one to visualize a sort of overview rough footprint of the projects. And some relationships between them are also stored in there. So when the import is finished, those features are added to a LiDAR scene. So that, we can see them there. They're all quite easily visible. Right, so if we just zoom in on one of these projects, we can have a look at the two major feature classes. So those are the trajectories floating up there at their altitude, and overview coverage. So the metadata that we extracted is placed into these feature classes within the trajectories and within the overview coverage. So this shows us things all about the project. So your average altitude, the speed of capture, how processed the trajectory is, whether it's been colorized or classified, and different information about the project is also stored in Rymap data. So your general sort of project information. But once you've brought in all your projects, this is when you can start managing your Rymap project. So we go to our second tool over here, and this is the data management. So here we can see all of the projects we've just brought into the Rymap geodatabase. These are all available and they can be published to ArcGIS Online from here. So with Rymap, we've created three web applications, the search application, the projects dashboard, and status dashboards. Status dashboards are project-specific dashboards that you can choose to add or not to add, and you can also choose between the search and the projects app as well. So when we publish this publishes into your ArcGIS Online portal. These items are then online and they become accessible via a URL link. So you can share your dashboards and your apps between your colleagues or with your customers, or you can keep them private as well if you'd like to sort of just monitor it yourself. So they're a little bit more easily accessible and not necessarily, you don't need an ArcGIS license to access them. So let's have a look at them. So this is the first one. This is your searcher application. So the searcher application was designed to catalog your collections, to make it easier to better visualize and keep track of the projects that you've done. So the main function here is to be able to search based on project name, on certain time intervals, or whether camera data has been collected. And then you can find the projects that you're looking for quite easily, every sort of like specific project data. If there's anything missing, you can have a quick look where it is, the trajectories. And there's also a couple of little widgets in here as well, including sort of a measurement tool and a My Location tool. So if you're accessing this on a mobile device, you can check your relative location to the project and so on. So the second application is the dashboard application, the project's dashboard. So this dashboard is designed to display key information about your RiMAP projects. So you can have a look at it and get a quick overview of specific projects that you've brought in, information about the scanners that you're using, sensors, or specific information like when it was processed. The graphs there are showing your average altitude and the average sort of scan time. And on the right, that widget shows sort of basic statistics about speed of your projects and stuff. If you selected to do a status dashboard, a link is created to the status dashboard, and this shows project-specific information. So how processed your project is. This is read out of a RiPROCESS and of the ODBX files. So we can keep track of whether there's any raw data left that hasn't been processed, how processed each scan line is, so whether certain records haven't been colorized or if they've been classified, whether waveform information was collected, all that kind of stuff. So it's a very quick overview of the applications. And then back in the data management, you can handle your RiMAP projects, sort of between your local instance in ArcGIS Pro and in ArcGIS Online. For the status dashboard, if, for example, you've done some more processing or you're finished processing and you can remove the status dashboard, but if you've done some more processing, you can update it locally through this window. So that, and then sync it up into ArcGIS Online, and you can update your status dashboard so you can keep track in that way of what you've been doing. You can also hide and unhide projects in the different applications for reasons that you would need. And the last thing you can do is you can also delete projects within this table to keep your geodatabase clean, or if something's become obsolete, or if there are any problems with that project, or whatever you need, you can sort of handle them from here as well. So that's a very quick overview, and I'm going to pass it back to Christian.
Okay, thank you very much. I guess you can see my screen. No, not yet. Now you can see my screen. So thanks, Kelly, for the demo. I think we are now going to cover how you can get a RiMAP. I think the easiest way is to download it from the Esri Marketplace. We have this QR code here that should point you directly to the Marketplace listing. It is basically the only requirements is ArcGIS Pro, an internet connection. As we mentioned, there is no additional license. The add-in itself comes for free, so there are no additional costs for that. And we believe it's a pretty easy installation. So when you download the file, it's a single file, double click, and it will be installed as an add-in to ArcGIS Pro. That's how it works. Just a word on where we stand right now and what are the future plans. So our road ahead, if you want. Version 1.1 was published in October last year, and it covered more or less the basic functionality of bringing in the data, creating this 3D scene with the laser footprint and the trajectory information and the search wrap. With 1.2, which will be released around UC, so in the next couple of days or weeks, maybe 2 weeks or so. We will add this project status dashboard to the portfolio and this batch ingest. So having multiple RiPROCESS projects brought in at once to make it a bit more convenient to build up this catalog. This will be covered in version 1.2. Once we have this complete, then we will start with version 2 immediately, and that will bring in, let's say, the heavy data. As it is right now, we cataloging the projects, we're bringing in metadata, but we are not reading in the point clouds or the imagery. This will be covered by version 2, the following version, and we'll hope that this also opens the entire functionality that Esri is currently working on in terms of machine learning and deep learning with point cloud classification, feature extraction, stuff like that. So I think some of you have experienced that creating 3D LiDAR stuff and imagery data structures can be a little bit time consuming and confusing inside ArcGIS. So we hope to streamline this process with RiMAP and make it easier to get the data into the Esri environment and benefit from the tools there. That pretty much covers it all. We are now open for questions. As mentioned before, this is the email address we have set up for all RiMAP related questions. So also after the webinar, if you have an idea or something you want to discuss with us, kind of functionality, feel free to contact us via rymap@riegl.com. So there are questions coming in, and I would say we simply start. So there's one ask, can the data be published in the portal? And I think that relates to another question regarding ArcGIS Enterprise. So I hope, Kelly, that's a question for you, I guess.
Yes, so right now it is built for ArcGIS Online only. We haven't customized it fully for portal just yet, but so short answer, no. It's ArcGIS Online for now.
Okay. There's another question how the metadata is, where this is done automatically. So that this I can answer. Yes, it is done automatically. So we read that information from the RiPROCESS RPP, we read it from the trajectory files, the POFX files, and we read it from the point cloud files, the RDB files. In there, you find a bunch of transaction lists, so you know what happened to the data. And from this transaction list, we find certain tools that probably have, you know, for instance, I provided the colorization or have done some classification to the data. So that information is extracted from the data, so it's done automatically. So we have this. Is the web app configurable once published to ArcGIS Online? Kelly, that's one for you, I guess. So
the dashboard is, the web app is not. So the searcher app is not. The main dashboard can be, yeah, but yeah, just on that, if there is sort of any kind of specific information that sort of pops to mind now that you think would be useful to you and to your organization, please reach out to us. Yeah, this is, you know, what we've come up with, but we want feedback and we want to make this as useful for you as we can. Okay. There's another one. When do you plan to release 1.1 and 1.2? So 1.1 is already released. So this is available on the Esri marketplace. So you can go to the marketplace, search for RiMAP or RiEGL, and you will find that listing. Maybe something to remember when trying to download stuff from the marketplace. Esri requires the user to log in with purchasing privileges. Although RiMAP comes at no cost, it's a policy of the marketplace that as a user you need to have purchasing privileges from your organization. Otherwise, you cannot download from the marketplace. And 1.2, as I mentioned, is due to release around UC. UC will be July 15, I guess. So mid of July, and we hope to get it out by then. So I hope that answers the question. There's another question for Kelly. Which versions of ArcGIS Pro are supported, is required? Sorry about that. Yeah, and I see there's another one for ArcGIS Pro 3.0. So yes, that when we release 1.2, it will be for the latest version of ArcGIS Pro. So I assume most of you people use ArcGIS Pro, so you are aware that they change versions quite a lot. And we will keep up to date with that. So for now, when we release it, it will be for the most current version.
Okay.
Which is 3.0. As of now.
There's another one. I think that fits also. That are
Right.
all the RiPROCESS projects able to be imported?
Yeah. So 1.2 is built specifically for RiPROCESS versions 1.9 and above, and this is because of changes within the RDBX, within the sort of scan files, and that's to be able to keep track of the status of the projects and sort of by scan. So older versions can be imported, it won't break it, but you will lose a lot of the metadata that isn't available. So it sort of no. RiPROCESS 1.9 is quite necessary.
Okay. There's one functionality to be added for static scan data in the future. Yes, in the future, it's definitely on the list. For now, it is limited to kinematic data as we are pulling in information from RiPROCESS. So all the projects that can be processed with RiPROCESS are supported at the moment. RISE-CAM Pro projects are not supported yet, but it's definitely something on the list for a future release. But this may take a little while, to be honest. And there's I think there's time for a last one here. We are running out of time, but there's a last one. You've shown on the dashboard with the international units. Is there a way to switch to Imperial?
Yes, so I assume that means the widgets that were on the side in kilometers, using European data at the moment. Yes, so when you publish, you can switch the display units to feet, but it is important to note that the data will still be in international units, so within the feature classes, but you can change the how it is viewed from the dashboards.
That is the last slide for today, the obligatory thank you slide, of course. Yeah, thank you very much. I hope you found it somehow useful, some information, and we'll make sure that the questions that could not be answered right now, they are not lost. So we will come back to you later and answer them by email. So thank you very much, and have a nice day or evening wherever you are located. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye.